Hey guys, Paul here with Lyle and Chuck and Chris. Been a long trying week, so not very talkative, but we're going to get on to general catfishing today. Something a little different than we've been doing, and no special guest or anything like that. Lyle got moved into his new place there. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Lyle, in case some of these guys can find your new place?
Well, it's absolutely been a pain in my Rumpelstiltskin the last 2 or 3 weeks. We've been moving from about 12 miles out in the boonies to the metropolitan area of Bowling Green, Missouri, town Cindy and I grew up in, and we finally got everything set back up. Instead of having a little room to do my rod stuff in, I have a loft in this house, and it's coming right along. We've got everything set up where we can do some work, and we had some really good nephews and family members to help us get it done, and we're just about there. I just got to put everything away now and keep it going, but it's a deal I would wish on no one to have to do.
Well, let me ask you this. You said that you and Cindy grew up in that house. Does that mean your brother and sister too, or I'm just
No, in the town. We grew up in the town, not the house.
Oh, okay. I was just wanting to double check there.
Funny man, Paul.
Of course. What have you been up to this week, Chuck?
Not a lot, just working and fishing.
Working and fishing.
Yep. Cutting grass.
I think I'm going to sneak down there so I can go fishing with your wife while you're at work.
She needs somebody to take her out.
Think she'll teach me how to fish?
Yeah, she wouldn't mind.
What about you, Mr. Chris, a.k.a. Fudd? What have you been doing?
Oh, a whole lot of fishing. Been doing a lot of crappie fishing. This last weekend for kind of like a little birthday present, Scott Wiseman from the ICA and his buddy Tim, a couple of the guys that I'm going to be going on vacation with here into June and into July down on the Ohio River. But they came down. We did there ended up being 3 boats, but we were just having a little fun kind of tournament, see who caught the biggest bass, catfish, and crappie all in one day. And one boat had to quit because they had 2 of their boats. My buddy had 2 of his boats that broke down on him, so he had to get towed in, and he didn't get to finish out. And my buddy Scott, he ended up with one nice little 2.5-pound bass or so, and no catfish and some crappie that were about 10, 11 inches. And I ended up winning because I had a couple catfish and I had some crappie that were about 12 inches. I couldn't get on a bass though, but we were each minus 1 species of the 3 that we were after. But there was a lot of boats out on the water this weekend, probably getting ready for that Memorial Day weekend and stuff like that. Water was beautiful. Wind was about 4 miles an hour. I mean, it was a great day to be sitting out on the water fishing. But that's all I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of fishing and going out and crappie fishing and a little bit of catfishing at night, and had my birthday this last week. I turned 36, I believe.
Still a baby.
Yeah.
You hear what he said a while ago, Lyle?
What's that?
He's going to go on vacation.
Again?
I thought you had to work to go on vacation.
Yeah. No, you're just down fishing with Jonathan. That's not a vacation.
That was kind of like a vacation. That was nice.
That's my point exactly.
Oh man, actually, guys, to be honest with you, we got caught kind of off guard with this deal today, and we just wanted to talk about general catfish. And if there's anything you want to know, by all means, go to catfishweekly.com and go to the chat room and feel free to ask any question you want to ask. We may not answer it, but you can ask.
I do have a little bit of good news that I'd share with some people if they was interested in it.
Sure.
Yesterday, I had the pleasure of meeting up with Keith Copenhaver from Cat River Anchors. He had just come up, him and his fishing partner, Lee Reed, from fishing the Sea Arc tournament in Owensboro. I'm not sure how they finished. I know that they was out of the money a little bit, but I think they had a great time down there. And we are now have a full line of Cat River anchors on. We'll be hauling back and forth to the tournaments for anybody that's looking for one. They can just pick them up and get them from us, and we'll try to keep them on hand. And if you know in advance, just give me a PM and I'll make sure I have your size. We're pretty excited to be included in that. There's some really good people and make an outstanding product.
How long is it going to take you to start selling tackle?
Oh, I don't know. Don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cat River anchors, I have them myself, and you know they are a great anchor, and especially you get down on any good moving water where you really need to hold like a deep V boat like I got, 17, 18 foot deep V boat with a little bit of current. A lot of anchors ain't gonna dig in and hold them Cat River anchors. You know, I've only got the 16 pound and it holds just fine. You know, I mean, I've had the 20 pound. I dropped down with my new boat to the 16 pound. Figured it would be um, you know, just as good to hold, and it so far it has been.
I have an 18.5 foot Tundra, and it's a deep V, and it's an extremely heavy boat, extremely heavy. And Mississippi River and the Missouri River are both flooded right now. Not out of the banks or anything, but you're looking at 5, 6, 7 mile an hour current. Just throw it out, tie it off, go back and start rigging your stuff up, and you can feel it set down, seize, and you don't have to pull around on, jerk around, or wonder if you're going to get hung, because if you throw it out, you're going to get stuck. That's
Yeah,
just,
I heard somebody, or I didn't hear it. I seen it on Facebook earlier on my feed. They said that there was some big trees coming down the river.
big trees.
So I seen that. Yeah, what did we have for a giveaway this month? Somebody refresh my memory.
Uh, for the rest of this month and then all of next month, it's those was it
Scales.
yeah, what brand was they?
Berkeley 50 pound.
Yeah, the Berkeley 50 pound digital scales, and it was basically just posting a picture of a catfish um, with a sign. Yeah, either with the Catfish Weekly sign or not. I think just post a picture of the catfish on Catfish Weekly's Facebook page, either the group or the page, whatever.
Yeah, we'll count them.
Yeah, recent pics. We don't want,
Yeah.
no throwback stuff.
Yeah, we don't want Ron Workman showing off his fish and getting anything.
Cubs fan.
Hey, Lyle, those Cat River anchors. The problem I have with the one I got when I'm anchored down and you get hung, and this big line we use, we go to break our line off, and it pulls us down river and breaks the anchor loose, and then all the other lines go slack and end up, a couple of them end up getting hung. With that Cat River, that solves them problems, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. You just, if it gets stuck, you just, they're tied at the top on the chain with 100-pound zip ties, and you just break the zip ties. It pulls out backwards. You don't lose your anchor. You don't lose your rope. You don't lose anything. You just pull it on up, and down the road you go.
Yeah, we had something similar on Sean's boat. I remember I had to break one. But 100-pound, you think 100-pound would be easy to break, but
You just use a motor. I don't pull on them hard enough to break them anymore.
No, I'm talking about when you get hung with your fishing line, and you try to break your line to get unhung while you're anchored down fishing, and when you go to break your braid or your 80-pound leader, when you go to pull and snap your line loose, you pull your anchor off where you was hung up, and then all your other lines go slack, and it messes up your anchor pretty good when this anchor I've been using. I was just wondering if that Cat River anchor hangs good enough that when you go to break a snag loose, it don't pull you off anchor and all that good stuff.
Well, I've got one of all of them. I've got the 10, the 16, and the 20, and I guarantee you, if that 20 gets hung in there, when you're using it, you can break some pretty good braid, and it won't, especially leader lines. Using 50, 60-pound leader line, you'll be able to break that off without any problems. Now, the 10-pounders and the 16-pounders are not nearly as hard to pull up, but I mean, they hold a boat good. But I never tried to pull one out with braid. I can't imagine if you had, unless you have 100-pound leader material, that'd be an issue.
I mean, no matter what, if you throw a pole off to the side, especially us using braid and stuff, any side or whatever, it ain't gonna matter what anchor you have. You're gonna pull the boat over, left or right. But I would say even casting out on the Cat River anchors, I think they'd hold. And I use 100-pound braid. I use 100-pound braid with 30 to 40-pound mono leaders, and that 16-pound anchor, straight up at the front of the boat. If I was pulling straight back on the opposite end with just my braid and stuff, I don't think I'm pretty sure I've even done it, and I never had a problem yet with my 16. I can pull complete opposite direction, and it ain't gonna pull that anchor out at all.
Yeah,
I'll break my line.
There's nothing worse in the world than going across a really nice spot, and you mark some really good structure, and you finally get that boat exactly where you want it, and then you get hung up, and then you go to break your line and you pull off that spot. But with that Cat River anchor, if you're in like 30 foot of water, you need to let out about 3 times that length of rope to get the right ankle for it to hang good. So you would need to let out about 90 foot. Is that
well? That's the general rule of anchoring, is 3 times the depth. But I just string out a bunch of it to get me about where I want to go and tie it off, and I don't worry about 3 times the depth or anything, because, like I say, it doesn't matter if it's mud or sand or if it's rock. If there is a bottom, then you hit it, you're going to stick with those.
Okay. Well, I seen on there where they said you can, bend the tines to what angles you want, and you can sharpen them to get, to get the edge you want. Do you see any reason why you would want to, sharpen them or anything like that?
I don't see any reason to sharpen them. I really don't, because to me, I can't imagine why you need to, because they've got a dull point on them that works really well. The reason, as far as bending them out, is when they ship them in a 1 square foot box, and they have to push them together closer to the center to fit these boxes. And a lot of times they'll ship 1 or 2 at a time, and if you bend them out 1 inch or 2 each direction on each flute, when you get them, it will give you a little more grabbing power, because they're condensing them as small as they can to get them in the boxes to save people money on shipping prices. But
Okay.
I've never sharpened one whatsoever. Mine are used just like they come out of the box, with the exception of being pulled apart just a little bit to give them a little more width. That way they grab. But even before I realized that I needed to do that, I was using them with them pushed together, and they still held.
Great.
Yeah, mine's standard right out of the box. I've never even took them flukes and spread them out any more than they already were. And I never do
just
that.
stand on them, and I stand on the flutes and grab the center of it and pull up on it. And like I say, 1 inch or 2 on each one will give you more than enough.
I mean,
to grab anything you need.
If it's standard out of the box, it's been working for me just fine. I'm sure that any more flair to them, and they're going to just grab better. That's all it's going to do. And the flukes on them are real. They're not real flimsy. They're heavy duty. They're easy enough to bend, but they're strong enough to hold. They're almost a perfect mixture of strength to flexibility on them, and that's why I mean, I know we seem to be really kissing some butt on them right now, but I've used a lot of anchors. I mean, I've used the Richter anchors. I've used a lot, homemade anchors.
I've lost a lot of anchors.
I just use my ex-wives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've lost a ton of anchors, and they'll get hung up, and you think you got a design, or somebody has a design where you get your anchor back, and the first thing you know, you're sitting up there, and you either are using your spare anchor, or you've already lost one or two in a day in a tournament getting hung up, and you can't get them out, and it just doesn't happen with these things. They're just heads and tails better than anything I've ever seen or used anywhere.
Do they send a couple of nylon wire ties with them, so after you break a couple, you'll know what to go buy at the store or whatever?
Every
What
box
size?
that I've got has 2 extras in the box.
Okay, so then, you just go ahead and try to remember what size they were, then, you go buy you some more to throw in your tackle bag.
Yep, that's exactly the way to do her.
All right.
And the thing is, these are catfishing people. They fish a lot of tournaments. Keith and his dad Alan, they designed this. They patented it. They made a really good product. They fish every tournament, or a lot of tournaments. So they fish the Cat's Incredible every year up in Grand Rapids, and I know that they was down at the Sea Arc tournament over the weekend. So they cover a lot of area, and they're not going to these areas to peddle their anchors. They're going to fish the tournaments because they're competitive guys, but they are really good channel cat fishermen and flathead guys. They fish in predominantly channel cat and flathead areas, and they're really good fishermen.
How you doing on rod building and stuff since you moved?
Oh, I just
Organized.
I'm just working night and day trying to get caught back up. I had to shut down for 3 or 4 days, and just put me back behind the ball again. But we're staying pretty busy. We got some big giveaways coming up. A couple of them for Calvin. Myers' benefit deal, and it's going to be up in Iowa, Burlington, Iowa, the 31st. And I was glad that I got those out of the way early, because if I had to do them now, I'd really be in trouble. But I know Ron Workman is all over that Cubs rod now. Joe Lucky is the one that recommended doing that Cub rod, and Ron, he's wanting it. Joe's wanting it. I think there'll be several other guys that are interested in it. I think it's great that these guys are getting behind that benefit for Calvin, like they are, and
I've seen him a couple of cardinal rods.
Seen him a couple of what?
Cardinal rods.
I don't know that Ron will bid on them, but Lyle's liable to.
We got a couple of questions from the catfishweekly.com online chat. First question we got is, what rig do we throw when we're anchored up under a dam? Say, go ahead and start us. I got Chuck, Lyle, Paul, if you want to answer, and then
I don't fish enough rivers to get in that one.
All right, well, go ahead, Chuck.
It depends on what current we got. On the Coosa, if they're running one generator, it's about 8,000, two's about 16, and three's about 32. You don't even want to be up in there really with 3 on. It's real rocky anyway. It's hard to get around on a lot of these dams, but I try to use around with 8,000 straight off the dam. I try to go around 8 ounce. I try to get in a good current seam, and it kind of acts like it's free lining. So it's really most of the time not exactly on the bottom, but you got enough weight to hold it down there, and you can actually see your line moving around with the current, and it really keeps it up off the bottom a little bit where they're feeding. So I usually try to use enough to where I'm not stuck directly down on bottom, enough to keep my line at about a 45-degree angle, and enough to where I can see my line moving around where it kind of free lines without it actually being down on bottom in a Carolina type rig.
Lyle?
Well, I use a lot of double hook rigs, and where I put the weight right on the bottom, and then the first hook will be up about 6 or 8 inches, and the second one will be up about a foot and a half to 2 foot. Also do a lot of Carolina rigging with a float in it on a single hook rig. Um, in the current that we have on the Missouri and the Mississippi rivers, a lot of times I'm throwing anywhere from 10 to 24 ounces of lead at a whack, and I like to use a 10-foot rod because we're only allowed to get so close to the dam, and I believe it's 600 feet. No, is that right? Yeah.
I thought it was 500.
I think it depends on which dam it is, but you know, I can sit back there with 16 or 20 ounces of lead and a half a skipjack and put it in one of them 10-foot rods and just haul off and let the big dog eat because I'm trying to get as close as I can. And if you hit that current seam just right, it makes a little eddy to where the current swirls back around, and if you hit it perfect, it'll take your bait and it'll go right back up towards that dam where that lock is, and it'll set right there, you know, and just wait for the big fish to run back and forth across the front of that dam.
I myself, sitting up at a dam, I normally use the same type of rig as a Carolina rig. I normally try to figure out, you know, just depending on how much current we have. On the Ohio River, we normally don't have a ton, even with a lot of the gates open or anything. I mean, sometimes you might need to throw a couple 8 ounces on, but it's, you know, if it's not hitting the bottom, you always want to be trying to figure out, just because your bait isn't on the bottom doesn't mean you ain't going to catch fish, and you need to, if you're not used to being up there, um, you know, try different things. I mean, every one of these guys that goes out there and they catches a fish, they aren't doing the same thing. Everybody's not catching a fish doing one exact thing. So if you get out there and but the bumping rod. So if you get out there and you anchor up on the dam and you got a good current, you could take 6 ounces or 4 ounces or something like that, to where you can feel that weight just hit the bottom, but yet when you lift it up, that you can feel that current still taking that bait downriver. Now that's what a lot of guys, when they get up into these dams and stuff, they're doing. You're going to see these guys that are consistent in pulling in catfish. They're doing the bumping, and that dam area is the perfect place to do it at. I mean, that's where you got a lot of current normally. That's where you're going to sit there and do that with a Carolina style rig. You can do it with a double hook Carolina or a single hook Carolina. You can throw a big head on. You can throw, you know, a smaller chunk midsection, whatever you want. And I can't say that I've mastered that technique. I've practiced it, and I've not caught a fish yet doing it because I'm not down there on the river enough, especially at the dams. Hopefully I'll be doing it maybe this weekend, or not, the 30th. The 30th I'll be down around some dams. So hopefully I'll get to do that a little bit. But yeah, like a Carolina rig, I do occasionally use the double hook rig. I use 100-pound braid with 30 to 40-pound monofilament on it. If you're in a lot of rocks, a lot of guys will take that, whatever your standard mono leader is. Maybe if you only put 16 inches on a leader or 12 inches on a leader, you start getting, you know, broke off a lot. You might want to extend that leader out a little bit. You know, maybe make it 2 or 3 feet. You know, give yourself a longer monofilament leader so you got a little better abrasion resistance on the rocks. And I think that's what I got for it. For the second question that we got after that one, we got Scott Wiseman asked, is the Sea Ark setting precedence by moving the owner's tourney from Owensboro, where it has been held for years, to protected waters of Alabama? Do you guys think you'll see more tourneys moving away from the Ohio River?
Well, first off, this is only the second year they've been in Owensboro. Before that, they was in St. Louis for 2 years, and there was a big controversy about them moving away from there. I think that they should move it around. They don't have owners of Sea Arks in just one place throughout the United States, and I think Owensboro was with, tournament catfishermen are after big fish as a general rule, especially the guys that fish for blues. And Owensboro, although a great place to hold tournaments, the city is way behind everything that goes on down there, and they have some really good tournaments. It's not a big fish place. St. Louis is, and Wheeler Lake is. I think that since they have tournaments or boat owners all over, I think they should pass that around as they intend on doing, as my understanding, to let guys from different areas get to fish those so they don't have to travel so far. I think that's a really good idea, and I'd like to see them go up to Illinois or Iowa or someplace for the channel cat guys. Just because you don't have a 100-pound blue in your water doesn't mean that there'd be nothing wrong with catching a 15-pound channel cat. I mean, they still buy, them guys buy the boats. The only thing that I have ever had against what they do is they're putting on this tournament for people that have already purchased a boat, and that's their way of thanking them for purchasing a boat. I got that, but I would think that they would open that up to people that don't have the boat, so that they could draw more interest of people to come in and be enticed to buy a Sea Ark boat. Instead of, and they could go from the 80 boat turnout they had this past weekend to probably 200 or 300 entries if they would open that up.
Yeah, problem with that might be that a lot of fisheries aren't going to be able to handle a 200 or 300 boat tournament.
Well, that may be some of it. Yeah, I don't know.
And I mean, I've thought the same thing. I'd be like, man, I sure wish, they'd have that for guys who don't have the Sea Ark. It seems like that would put another non-Sea Ark owner out on the water with a Sea Ark, but you can see from both sides of that coin there, that they're thankful for the customers that they have that already spent that money with them. And
I agree. I think that's a wonderful thing. Another way they could do that would be have a Sea Ark owner, and a non-Sea Ark owner partner with him.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways, but it just seems to me like that it would open up a whole new venue if they would go with not necessarily make it for owners. And it's an appreciation thing. They've always said that, and that's outstanding that they reward their buyers for doing that. But I was asked to fish the tournaments a time or two, and was thrilled to get to go to fish it because it's a really good tournament. It's very well run and professionally done by a lot of good people that they have. But this year I wasn't asked to go, and I'm not sure I'd have been able to with things the way it was anyhow. But if I wasn't tied up doing something and that tournament was available to me to fish, I promise you I'd be fishing it.
Yeah, I know that us talking beforehand, I tried to say that I really didn't want to hound on the conservation issues that we normally hound on tonight, but with Scott's question. I myself, yeah, I mean, even though they didn't, they haven't been at Owensboro forever and they're just now changing it, I honestly think that if Kentucky doesn't get their act together really and do more than what they've done already, I do kind of hope that, like Aaron Wheatley, Monsters on Ohio, them guys, I have these thought processes that's sort of the same along with that Sea Ark thing where I can see both sides of a coin, but if these cities and stuff aren't getting the money and the revenue that they're getting from these big tournaments, do I think that would really cause them to change it? I honestly don't know. I mean, it might be that we actually just need more people speaking out than what we have right now. That could be the thing that's holding it back, that to get the regulations in place, to get things changed to where we have more tournaments like Monsters on the Ohio and stuff like that. I mean, there's other places in the country that have way better catfishing waters than we have, but don't have near the size and the quality of the Monsters on the Ohio tournament and like the Rising Sun tournament, things like that, where, I mean, we really have a great tournament I guess a tournament trail or a tournament platform in Indiana and Kentucky. Whereas not that Lyle doesn't do a great tournament trail either, but they really should have a whole lot more than what they do. I mean, if the guys that are driving as far as they're driving to fish the unprotected waters of the Ohio River would go and fish those other rivers where they can fish, and catch fish that are 40 and 50 pounds, a little easier than they could on the Ohio. That's a difficult thing to do on the Ohio River, and I think it's going to be a difficult thing for a long time. So, whether or not other tournaments should stay there or go, it's up for debate. I think everybody is going to be able to say one thing or the other, but I couldn't honestly tell you what's going to help get the DNR of the states that need to do some things to do what they need to do. I couldn't tell you that.
Well, there's several factors in that. Number one is you've got the people have got to stand on their conservation departments. They've got to stand on the DNR, whatever it is. Those places have got to be convinced that this commercial fishing has got to be slowed down. They're just that, and the guys taking the stuff out for the pay lakes are raping these waters of large fish. And I know that they've been detrimental on the Ohio River for a long time. The Ohio River, for a couple of reasons, I never liked to fish there. One, there's hardly ever any current there, and I understand it's flooded down. They got plenty of it. And there's no fish of any size. If I was going to fish small fish tournaments, I'd go fish a channel cat tournament. With that being said, the best tournament in this country right now is Monsters of the Ohio. It's the best run, the largest congregation of people. Aaron got some good sponsors. He's got the city behind him. You can't get that kind of participation in our area at this time. Now, we are working on it. We've got a big tournament coming up in June, and we've got a pretty good sponsor behind it, and those things take time to put together. It just does. Aaron jumped on board with that Monsters of the Ohio, and in 3 or 4 years, he made that the elite tournament in the United States in the catfishing industry. There's a lot of good tournaments. You got Cabela's, and you got Bass Pro, and Twisted Cat Outdoors, and Kansas City Catfish, and all the ones you guys got over in your area. But there's nothing that I'm aware of that compares to the way the city and the public has grasped what Aaron has done, and he has took this thing and just run with it in a short period of time, and it's growing so fast that he's really going to have to watch it, or he's going to outgrow his boat ramps in places. The only thing that I see slowing him down is the fact that in blue cat water, you've got to be able to put decent blue cats in the boat because people are used to doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the city of Decatur on Wheeler Lake. They have seen how much money is brought into their city by hosting these events with Bassmaster Elite Series, the Walmart Series, the FLW, the American Bass Anglers, Bassmaster Weekend Series. And I think that really enticed Sea Arc on coming to Decatur. They built a facility in 2011 that has a pavilion that has 15 bay doors, 11 foot tall, which can hold indoor weigh-ins. You can launch 15 boats at one time. It's a 27-acre facility. It has 158 truck and trailer parking just for boats and trucks. And there's another 107 car parkings that can be changed over to boat and trailer. Truck and trailer parking. It's got all the handicap. It's got 1,088 linear foot floating dock, and they're just making this this harbor just so enticing for any kind of club or organization to come host an event and just give them everything in the world they need right there. So
let me ask you a question. Do you know that stuff right offhand, or are you reading that off of something?
no, I've been researching it for a while. I just couldn't remember all of it.
I mean, you got your facts down pat. That's outstanding facility. I'd love to see that because
Yes, you
where
know,
we're at, we have nothing like that.
yes,
We have nothing like it.
you know, when I was talking about trying to put on a winter event like next January, you know, a bunch
Right.
of guys up north want to come down and fish Wheeler, and a bunch come down during that time anyway. And you know, quite a few's asked me to try to get something going down here so they can come down here like the week after Christmas or the first week of January when most of them have vacation time and are, you know, available. And for me to try to put a tournament together, this place here, you can put on a tournament at any time without even making reservations if you have less than 25 boats. To use their pavilion, you know, you have to make reservations and all of that, but they have different areas set up so you can have multiple tournaments from you know, different fish species, you know, in one day. That, you know, these cities are seeing how much income that they're able to pull in from bringing these type of events in, and they're turning around and spending all this money to even make it greater. So I mean, that's really, you know, when cities do stuff like this, they're really, you know, taking chances on you know, spending all this money to see if they're going to succeed. But they're always you know, there's always some big event going on all the time up there.
I'd love to have a facility like that we could use because we don't have that and anything near the river with access to boats and stuff. Uh, you know, we could do a lot better with that. We have a facility here too that has pretty large parking lots and nice areas, but nothing to that magnitude. And I would love to see something like that. That'd be a great thing to put a tournament on in.
Yeah, I was at the very first weigh-in at the Cabela's when I talked to the Massengales and Phil King and all them. It was a really bad day. They had just opened the park. The pavilion wasn't even finished being built yet. Cabela's just had their little stand set up out by the launch, and um, a lot of guys turned around and went home. They pre-fished on Thursday and Friday, and the winds were blowing so bad they couldn't hardly stay in the lake. You know, drift socks wasn't doing any good. Their trolling motor wouldn't stay in the water. So they, you know, they ended up having like, you know, 20, 25 boats show up, but a lot of people showed up to pre-fish this one. But now, since the facility's finished and everything, when people really come to events that are catered to like this, it's really going to you know, bring them back time and time again from, you know, seeing, being able to you know, weigh in this type of atmosphere and stuff like that.
I don't know, guys that pre-fish and stuff like that sound like a bunch of crybabies. They can't catch fish to go home.
Hey, you don't always catch fish. That's why they call it fishing and not catching.
You know, you let people come in and pre-fish, and then it doesn't suit them, so they leave. And
Well, that happens. Believe me, it does.
I know it happens.
You know,
You got the brass cojones to fish against real fishermen, in my opinion. But
with tournament fishing, there's a lot of factors, and there's guys that come in, and in their first year, they think, you know, oh, I've always caught decent fish, and they really don't put it in perspective for, you know, the people that you're fishing against, the body of water that you're on, the weather. There's a lot of things that really go into like tournament catfishing that are really underestimated, I think, and I think that, you know, they get a little discouraged that they're not doing as well as they thought they were going to do when they get out there and they fish for, you know, a lot of their life, and they've caught good fish and stuff, but they get out in these tournaments and they're not doing that well. Myself, you know, I'm not the greatest catfisherman in the world. I'm learning. That's what I think that a lot of the guys need to do, and they need to realize that, the first year, the first 2 years, first 3 years, maybe you might not be leading all the charts and the boards and stuff. But if you're doing anything, you should be learning something. Every time you go out, any person you're talking to, watching shows like this, there's lots of information. There's lots of things to learn out there. Go out on, especially if you're fishing a specific trail or something, Lyle's bodies of water, Chuck's bodies of water, Paul's bodies of water, my bodies of water, all the different areas. Once you've been out on them a few times, you start to recognize places that, are potential where cats are at. You're gonna learn. You're gonna start looking at things like river bends or points on lakes. Where a channel might be at. The time on the water, the things that you learn by being out there, trying different things, using your electronics and things, all is going to come, but it's not going to come at a super fast pace. It's really like most things. You have to put the work into it to get the results out of it.
And if you think you're going to come off of a lake and go into river fishing, that's a whole different. A channel cat on a lake, for some reason, was a whole different learning experience and learning curve on the rivers.
Yeah. Yep. And definitely, we're trying to get all these guys that, we're having some of the best cat fishermen on the tournament cat fishermen in the country on the show. We're asking them the questions that are going to help people. Hopefully, and a lot of them have been pretty straightforward and told us, and a lot of times you think, oh, well, it's the same basic general answer that I get from everybody, and it might be that that's really the answer. It might be that you just gotta get out there and kind of do what they're saying, figure out what's going on for that body of water, and learn yourself. Because if you're just going out and doing what somebody tells you and you're not actually using your brain to think about what's going on, you're not really going to learn anything. You're not going to become a better fisherman in any way. You have to think about what's going on. Why is that working? Why is it not working?
And if you think you know it all, that's when it's going to catch you. That's one thing I found out. What I did on lakes was just totally different.
And catfishing is not in a place where bass fishing is at. If you think, oh, I'm going to become a cat fisherman and quit my job and go out there and make all this money, get all these sponsors, and everybody's going to know my name, and it's just not there, really. You have to love catfishing just to be catfishing. You need to recognize if you're getting to a point where you're not enjoying it anymore for whatever reason, find that place again. Maybe step back from a tournament or something, figure out what you got to do to enjoy it. If it's the stress of it, if it ain't working out for you, maybe tournament catfishing isn't for you. It's not for everybody. Not everything is. But you definitely don't want to burn yourself out. You don't want to make it not to where it ain't fun anymore. It is always fun catching fish, but to be honest with you, when I'm out there on the water and I have poles on the water and I'm sitting on a boat, it's like the best massage I could ever get. I'm sitting there and I'm just loving it and I'm relaxed and I enjoy being out there catching fish or not catching fish. Catching fish is better, but you gotta have that really to be out there. If you're out there for any other reason, you're probably out there for the wrong reason.
Yeah, you don't want to go out there and use your bill money or your car payment to fish a tournament. It's kind of like gambling. You don't expect to bring no money home. You're put back money here and there, and then save up for it. Go out and you're gonna blow that money. If you win, good, but don't expect to. Save you up some money. You have a really good time and you meet some really good people, and that's why I do it. It'd be good to be on the leaderboard and bring some money home and have some bragging rights, but it's all fun. And if you want to sit there and take risk on spending money on it that you don't need to, and thinking you're going to win and get that money back and more, most time it's not going to happen. You can't, um, nobody can make a living on it these days. There's no way. By the time you travel to every tournament that you expected the income off of and won every one of them, you probably still wouldn't make anywhere close to what you would make having a regular job. And then you're going to end up spending, at least eighth of any first place winnings just to travel to them. So, just for right now, everybody's just having fun with it. And, if it gets up to where they have some, 30 boat fields, 40 boat fields with, $50,000 pots, let them guys that want to take them gambles go for it.
Yeah, honestly, first and foremost, catfishing to me, I love just the fishing aspect of it, being on the water, being outdoors. Number one. I mean, but I'd say a close number two for me personally, and probably a lot of guys, I'd say, is the friendships that you make out there fishing with these guys, fishing against them. I've met a lot of really, really good people since I've started catfishing, and I've come to be what I consider really good friends. Like Jason Heath Malone, Scott Wiseman. There's really a lot of guys out there. I mean, Jonathan Herndon. These guys, you get out there with them, and Lyle. I mean, even though I've only met Lyle in person like twice, I feel like Lyle and me are pretty good friends. I could talk to him about anything. He could talk to me, and we understand each other. Paul and Chuck, I could talk to them about anything. I've never met Paul, I think I might have met Chuck. I can't remember.
No, I hadn't
met him. You'd remember.
But, yeah.
And that's right. I feel the same way. A lot of the guys that I know and I feel very close to, you and Paul and Chuck to start with, and I met Scott down at the Monsters last year, and just instantly, I knew he was a good guy, and we talked and visited in the weigh-in line, and I never met Aaron Wheatley till last year. Brad Kilpatrick I've known online for years and years, and last year was the first time I ever met him face to face, and it was just like we was long lost buddies. Some of the best people that you could ever meet, you'll meet in catfishing. They're just Doc and Lynn Lang, two of the finest people that ever want to be around. They're outstanding. They're some of my favorite people. A lot of the people that fish around here, Jason Jackson, Ryan Casey, I talk to them guys on the phone all the time. Jason and Vicky Mathena, these guys I see once in a while. I visit with them. They come up to the house. Different things that goes on. But the guys that you meet, I can't even fathom the number of people, Vince and
but there's a dark side to it.
There is a dark side to it, but
you get a few guys when they start talking about somebody.
There is some. There's some with anything you do, but I really think the good people in this sport far outweighs the bad. I really do.
I was just getting to the point, the people told me about this person and people tell me about that person and it wasn't true, and found out. I mean, there's a side to it that I don't know how to explain it, about people talking trash on other people, but I don't know.
Not everybody's going to get along with everybody. There's always going to be personality conflicts.
Absolutely.
Like Lyle said, I mean, I'd say 9.5 people out of 10, and I guess I'll include little people. I don't know. I don't think I've ever met one that's catfish, but if I did, I would say he'd probably be cool too. I mean, 9.5 people out of 10, I think that I've met catfish, and I've not had a problem with, and I've thought they were really good people. I got a guy, Max, that Rising Sun has a tournament every year. It's like Monsters on the Ohio, only it's a 2-day event, and it's actually a little bit larger than his. They had 150 boats at one year. I think it was 2 years ago. 130 boats last year. But there's a guy that lives right there in the city of Rising Sun, Max. I'd never met the guy. He let me come down. Me and my wife come down, stay at his house for that tournament, and he's fishing the tournament too. And for the past 2 or 3 years, I've gone down there and stayed at his house. And the guy had never met me before that. That's the kind of people that are in this sport. You know, I mean, they're good people. They really, really are.
Yeah, I agree. I have, you know, and they don't have to be tournament people. I have a really good customer that I built some rods for down in Tennessee, and never met him, wouldn't know him if I seen him. But when he wants a fishing rod, he calls me up, and he invited Cindy and I down to go down and fish the Tennessee River with him and to go on down to Wheeler Lake. If he asked me once, he asked me 10 times. He's going to put us up in his house. He don't know me from Adam, but that's the kind of people you meet in catfishing. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, real quick, I do got to say that about 3 weeks ago, myself and Scott and Jason and Heath had a little crappie tournament. I lost. Me and Scott lost. So Jason and Heath, you're the crappie kings. You're the masters. We bow to your greatness with your 16-inch crappie that you caught.
16-inch crappie.
Did they use them for bait that night?
No, that's a good crappie up here, man. We had like a 13-inch crappie, and we thought we had it gone. You know, we thought we were going to beat them, and they pulled out the picture with a 16-inch crappie on us. So that's a good crappie.
I'd have threw him on a number 10 or number 12 circle hook and got me a good flathead off that stuff. Actually, that day, I think that day, me and Scott, when we were crappie fishing, we were crappie fishing Lake Lemon, and I actually did keep a couple of the small crappie that we caught and went flathead fishing with them and had a good run on a crappie, but didn't end up catching a flathead that night. Oh, there's some excellent bait, but you can't use them in Alabama.
We can in Indiana. You can legally use any species as bait as long as you catch it with rod and reel, and it's of legal limit.
Yep, we can do bluegill, rod and reel, no net, no bass, no crappie.
We can use bass.
Nope.
That really bothers me because you guys get to use crappie and bass, and we can't.
Yeah. And these guys that want to go out and try to fish a tournament, they see one out there they want to, try that. Advertised out there, $50 a boat or something. When you get to the boat ramp and everybody's launching their boats, people just start walking up to your boat and start talking to you. And all you got to do to prepare, the first one I ever went to, I didn't have no jersey, I didn't have no logos on my shirt. We went to Academy and we bought some shirts for $17. It's the kind the bass guys wear that dry real quick. We bought a couple that matched, and we looked just as professional, or we fit in just as good as everybody else by wearing those nice shirts that, blended in. It matched. Everything looked good. We had $17 in a shirt. We went in $25 a piece on the entry fee. Split gas money. I think I came out of my pocket, $60 and had a great time. And met some good people, and so if you want to get out and try them, it'll be something you won't ever regret. You may come in and without any fish, or you may win the tournament. You never know.
I'd like to add to that just a little bit. Cindy and I fish a lot of tournaments, and we go all over doing it. We went, I think it was 8 states last year we fished tournaments in, and we really enjoy fishing tournaments. Like we was talking before the show about general catfish and stuff, we really don't go out and just fun fish. We're either pre-fishing a tournament or we're in one. Our fun fishing stuff has been limited because of what we do and running tournaments and building rods and doing that. So we just don't have the opportunity a lot of times to do that. And with that being said, we fished big blue tournaments. We fished channel cat tournaments, and the most fun that we had in the last year wasn't necessarily catching huge blues. Now, they're a blast to catch. Don't misunderstand me. I'd just soon catch them a 60-pound blue as anything in the world. But we went to several smaller tournaments, and a lot of it was to see how the tournaments was ran. We went to the TCCA tournament over around Peoria, Illinois. We absolutely had a ball over there. There were a great bunch of people. Tommy and Tim Walsh, they run a great show over there. We had a good time over there. We fished one of Brad Kilpatrick's tournaments at Waverly, also a night tournament. We had a wonderful time. We didn't do worth a darn, but we had a good time. We drove to Grand Rapids and fished the Cat's Incredible tournament, and I got to meet Brad and up there and visit with him and learned a lot of stuff from a lot of really good people, and we had a wonderful time. But don't think that you have to go fish a tournament and catch 100-pound fish to have a good time, because some of the most fun tournaments you could ever have is just fishing a channel cat tournament where the biggest thing you're going to catch is 6, 8, 10, 12-pound fish. I mean, it's a blast just for the competition factor. That's what makes it fun.
And yeah, and actually going through the steps of everything, and after you actually catch your limit of 5 fish or 3 fish or whatever it is at the time, I mean, you're actually having to cull the small fish and reweigh what's in the live well, and keep up with what you got, and I mean, just the whole process is just something that you'll want to try to do once a month if you can. I mean, it's just so. I mean, you're just not trying to get fish in the boat. You're trying to, calculate what you got and what you need to throw back every time you bring one in the boat, and you got to throw to something else back. And it's just so much fun.
That's right.
And being out there with Leanne and, fishing with her, I mean, this past Saturday, she was flawless. I made 2 bad mistakes that I want to kick myself in the butt for. I tried to get a 30-inch blue in the boat with boga grips when I could have got the net, and it spun off the hook, which it was under 34, and that gave me some good weight. And then I had I had a big takedown that took the rod up under the boat, and I had my Phantom locked down, and knowing these springtime fish ain't gonna just roll over for me like these big winter blues do. I tried to hoss him up with the lockdown Phantom, and he snapped my 80-pound leader like it wasn't nothing. So that probably lost the tournament for me, and that's just something I'll learn by. I'm ready to go back and try it again, and it's just, you just learn so much every time you go out, and even if you don't come back with any fish, you learn so much and you make so many mistakes, you feel like, hey, next time I go out, I'm going to do a lot better because I know a lot more than I did last time.
I want to, if you guys don't mind, I want to switch gears a little bit. Since we talk about tournament fishing a lot, I'd like to give a little bit of information and tips to the guys that just want to go out to their local lakes and reservoirs and catch some catfish. I do that quite a bit, so I can give you some help there. If you guys don't mind, you guys care at all?
Go ahead.
All right. For you guys that are going out and you're targeting, your small rivers and lakes that are around you, and you just want to get some catfish, either for, under 10 pounds for some eaters, or, just going out to have a good night of catfishing. First thing I'd say is, don't I guess if you go to like a Walmart, or if you have a Rural King, or you can order online or anything, like from Bottom Dwellers or whatever, look at like some 6/0 hooks. I like 6/0 hooks because I've caught anywhere from I've even caught on 8/0 hooks, but a 6/0 hook might look huge to you when you first look at it if you're using J hooks or something, but a 6/0 like circle hook, or even some Charlie Brown hooks from Bottom Dwellers. Those hooks there, those are real good for catfish anywhere from 1 pound all the way up to probably 20 pounds, 25 pounds. I mean, you can catch them you can catch some pretty big catfish on a 6/0 hook. Even in an 8/0 hook, you can even get down to some pretty small fish. For the smaller fish though, 6/0 seems to be a little better for me. I mean, for bait, what I'd tell you guys to do is get like a 1 or 2 ounce sinker, run on your main line, run to your swivel, um, put like a smaller, if you're using braid, use a smaller diameter or a smaller pound mono as a leader line, and make that leader about 12 inches, 12-15 inches. If you can, get the cigar style peg floats that are at most Walmarts and places like that. You just put a peg float about 4 inches above that hook, and then on that hook you can throw chicken livers. Here's what I kind of look at things like for bait for smaller fish. If you're targeting those channel cats that are, or blues that are 8 pounds and under, you can go with night crawlers, chicken livers, the doe, like your doe style baits, the stink bait, with you got a carbon or a sudden impact fiber bait. You got Team Catfish, the sunnies that they sell at Walmart, things where you can dip those sponges and things like that. Those are all good baits for catching a lot of fish that are in the smaller eater size range. Now, if you're going out there and you just want to see about trying to get on some of the bigger channel cats out in the bodies of water, I start looking at things like creek chubs. You can use those live. You can use them cut. Bluegills. If you go catch bluegills, the day you're going to go catfishing or whatever, you can take them out there live, and then you can cut them up and cut them into small chunks. And for whatever reason, bigger catfish are going to like the bluegill, the creek chub. If you can get them, soft crawls. I think soft crawls pick up a pretty good amount of decent sized channel cats. And trying to think if there's any other bait that I'm not thinking of. You guys think of anything?
Not other than shad or skipjack.
Yeah, shad. I'm sorry. Shad is skipjack. For myself personally, out on the lakes and the rivers and stuff, skipjack I think is, unless you've got a big river. If you're near a big river with big blues and stuff, or a big lake that has blues, go for some skipjack. But if all you have are possibly flathead and channel cats out on a body of water near you, shad. They actually sell shad in the Walmarts. I've seen them, and they got different flavors, and they're small little.
They ain't worth crap.
Oh, those will work. I've caught plenty. What I do is I'll take 2 or 3 of those in that little bag, and even those little 2 to 3 inch shad, I hook them on the eye, but I'll hook them in different directions. So I'll hook one face in one direction, one face in the other, and the other face in the one direction. For whatever reason, I've actually gone out while I'm fishing the lakes, and I'll take that little bag of shad there. But I like to do what I like to do is have the fresh shad. But if you're not familiar with throwing a cast net and catching fresh shad at your lake or whatever, those little shad that you can buy in the Walmart, they've worked for me. I mean, some people, they might not work for, some they don't, or some they do. At the very least, if you can catch bluegill, cut some bluegill up out there. A good thing you can do if you're out on the bank fishing is take a fast food tray, one of the plastic fast food trays out with you, and you can do your cutting and stuff on that thing and keep you a bait knife there. But I think that's going to catch you some bigger channel cats out at your lakes and rivers if you're using some cut bluegill, some creek chubs, live creek chubs or cut creek chubs. Some guys will take a creek chub and step on it and put it on the hook. I mean, there's different things you can do with a creek chub. And bluegills, if you want to use live bluegills, I'd go with some smaller bluegills for channel cat and flathead fishing to start off with. I mean, if you know that there's some big 40-50 pound flatheads in the area, you can go for a bigger bluegill. Also go with bullheads, if you little yellow bellies, whatever you want to call them in your area. Bullheads are a real good flathead bait if you want to target those. If you're not sure if your body of water has flatheads, for an example, there's a body of water near me. It's the White River, and it's a lot shallower in my stretch of the woods. That as it gets down further south, it gets a lot deeper and wider. But I have a good friend of mine that, he's found out that there are some good 30 and 40 pound flathead in the Stretch River up here, and it can only be 3 foot deep in some stretches, or even shallower than that. So shrimp, yeah, shrimp, heath on there. You can go out and use shrimp at a lake or something there, and you can try doing different flavorings, the garlic shrimp and all that stuff. That it can be a good bait. Some people will swear by shrimp too. So it's hot dogs. I've had guys tell me they've actually caught blues on hot dogs on the Ohio River. But myself, I would stick with, like, if you can get anything fresh, bluegill, creek chubs, fresh bait is always better. Get out there with a 6/0 hook. Like I said, do a leader line about 12-15 inches. Put a cigar float. You don't have to have the cigar float, but put a cigar float about 4 or 5 inches above that hook. Any kind of, like I said, if you don't want to use a circle hook, you can go with try to find something that's similar in size as a J hook, I guess. But remember, you need to set that hook faster with a J hook, so them fish don't swallow it if you plan on releasing them. If you don't plan on releasing them, and you don't care about losing some tackle down in there, go ahead and go with some J hooks that are, whatever you're going to use and you like to use, and that'll hold that bait. But once you see, like what I'm telling you, using the bluegill, the cut bluegill, and the creek chubs and things like that, the 6/0 hook is a real good size that'll hold those baits.
All right. We're up in an hour and 7 minutes, so I guess we probably need to wind things up here. And I guess we'll go to Lyle, Chuck, and then Chris.
Okay, I want to remind everybody that Nauvoo, Illinois, Twisted Cat Outdoor Tournament this weekend. Saturday, launch is 7, weigh-in is a 3. Like to see as many of you can make that be a good show up there. Going to be north of the Keokuk Dam, be a channel cat tournament for the most part, unless somebody gets into some flatheads. I understand there's no blues above the Keokuk Dam, so come out and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. The 31st will be the Calvin Meyer Benefit Tournament. I've mentioned this every week for several weeks, and I know some of you know Calvin and some of you don't, but Calvin's been diagnosed with cancer, and he's getting ready to do a bone marrow transplant. He's an outstanding cat fisherman, a super nice guy, and we have got just an overwhelming amount of support for this tournament. So as many of you come out as you possibly can. We're going to have a 50% payout tournament on Saturday, and then they're going to have a dinner and get together and raffle and auction a bunch of stuff for him on Sunday to try to help them with some of the cost of his treatments and travel expenses and all that. So we'd love to see everybody make that. June 14th, Jack and Jill Tournament, LaGrange, Missouri, sponsored by Mark Twain Casino. This is really growing. We got some more entries in the mail today. I look for this to be a really good tournament. First place guaranteed to pay out $3,000. So all you guys that want to have a good time and take a shot at winning a little bit, come see us. And then coming up in July will be our Keokuk, Iowa tournament, added money tournament also. I haven't got all the specifics on what the payout's going to be on that yet, but keep that in mind. Keokuk's a great place to fish. They got blues, they got channels, they got flatheads, they got Asian carp like you wouldn't believe. So come on up and join us, and it's going to be also going to be a good tournament.
Chuck?
Yes, our next Alabama Catfish Trail tournament's going to be on Holt Lake on the Warrior River. If y'all don't know, that's the home of the new 120-pound state record blue cat. It's going to be out of Birchfield Branch Ramp and Campgrounds. It's going to be a night tournament from 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. We chose a campground to make it convenient for everybody, so you can set up camp, and when you come back in after weigh-in, you can just hit the tent, sleep, get back up, fish, enjoy your Sunday, and hang out with us the next day if you want to. But it's going to be a really good time, so come and join us. All right, Paul.
Oh, over to Chris.
Chris.
Okay. Couple things. The United for Catfish forums. I've been having a hard time finding somebody that's going to do the designing for me. As soon as I do, I do want people to know that it's not something that's completely, forgotten about. It's going a little behind schedule right now, but as soon as I get some of the design things done and everything, we'll really start getting people invited and getting all the things that we did for the Kickstarter project done. And as far as the giveaway for this month for Catfish Weekly, we have the 2 Berkeley digital 50-pound scales that we're giving away. All you need to do is post up a picture on either the Facebook group or the Facebook page, whatever one that you find on there for Catfish Weekly. Post a picture on there. Also, I'd like to start doing something that one of my fishing buddies gave me the idea for. If you post a picture of a fish that you caught with a little story, a little bit on there, and just title it, for the featured angler of the week, I'd like to actually start showing or showcasing an angler, and giving the story out a little bit that they've, the fish that they caught or the trip that they had or whatever. Every week, I'll do a screen share probably and show the picture of the fish they caught and tell a little bit about the story about the fish or the trip that they had. So again, just post the story on the Facebook group or Facebook page, or you could even email it to me, the FUD@catfishweekly.com, and I'll talk about that. If it's a kid, you took a kid fishing, anything like that, that you want to get them a little exposure, and let's see where they can, get a little bit of fame, because we're pretty famous here on Catfish Weekly. We got millions of viewers, right? But yeah, just give us an email, post it on there. We'll get that. We'll do that every week, probably starting next week, if we get anything on there. Also, remember, if you want to subscribe to any of the posts that we do for the videos and things on the website, you can do that at thecatfishweekly.com. Down there, just put your email address in there, subscribe. As far as tournaments, there's both an extreme catfishing and ICA tournament. Extreme is a daytime tournament in Troy, Indiana on May 30th, Saturday, May 30th. And then I believe it's going to be a 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then up in New Albany, the ICA is having a night tournament. I think it's a 7:30 p.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the morning. And that's at New Albany. The ICA tournament is a member-only tournament, so you got to be a member or pay the $25 membership fee. The Extreme tournament is an open tournament, so anybody can go. You should be able to hit both if you're able to. You can do that. As far as the advertising, we still have some advertising spots on catfishweekly.com. $50 for 6 months and $30 for 3. We're going to probably start trying to hit up some of the companies here soon for both advertising on the site and for maybe getting us some product in for another giveaway after the end of June's giveaway of the 2 scales. Also remember, even though each one of us have our own individual sponsors and everything, the show itself is not sponsored by any company or product or affiliation with anything. We're not trying to be political or anything like that, or have allegiances to anybody. So we want the show to be open to anybody to watch and enjoy, and if you have any suggestions or comments or anything like that you feel like sharing with us, just feel free to give us an email or write on our Facebook page. Let us know what you're thinking. If you got an idea for something on a show or questions or anything like that, just we're open to communication and feedback. So thanks to my sponsors, and remember to stay out of my spot.
I'll see y'all next week.